In 1996, the Jamie Foxx Show turned everyday hotel chaos into one of the most beloved sitcoms of its era. But nearly 30 years later, the truth behind those laughing faces is far darker than anyone imagined. From shocking scandals to heartbreaking deaths, their transformations will leave even longtime fans stunned. Join us as we uncover what really happened and honor the legacies they left behind. Jamie Foxx as Jamie King. Jamie Foxx was born on December 13, 1967, in Terrell, Texas. At 28 years old, he played Jamie King, the charming hotel employee and aspiring musician in The Jamie Foxx Show. The role carried the heartbeat of the series, blending humor, rhythm, and emotional timing that made the sitcom feel personal rather than formulaic. That ease on camera hit a far rougher beginning. Born Eric Marlon Bishop, Jamie was abandoned by his biological parents and raised by grandparents who ruled the household with discipline and emotional distance. Comedy and music slowly became his refuge, moving him from church piano benches to In Living Color, then into early film work like Any Given Sunday. As his fame deepened, personal stability proved fragile. Jamie never married, but his long relationship with Katie Holmes unfolded quietly while his career surged through Collateral and Django Unchained. During that period, he learned to separate public success from private life, keeping his two daughters protected while navigating constant exposure. The most frightening turn came in 2023. Jamie suffered a brain bleed that led to a stroke, leaving him hospitalized for months and struggling to walk during recovery. The silence around his condition fueled speculation, and when he finally spoke, he framed it as survival rather than triumph, a reminder of how quickly control can vanish. Today, Jamie Foxx is 59 years old, returning to acting, music, and producing with deliberate pacing. With an estimated net worth of about $170 million, he now balances creativity with restraint, choosing work that reflects endurance rather than excess. Garcelle Beauvais as Francesca Fancy Monroe. Garcelle Beauvais was born on November 26, 1966, in Saint-Marc, Haiti. At 29 years old, she played Francesca Fancy Monroe, the poised, sharp hotel receptionist in The Jamie Foxx Show. Her character grounded the comedy, giving the series emotional continuity and helping it evolve beyond a typical sitcom. That composure was earned early. After her parents' divorce, Garcelle immigrated to the United States at age 7, arriving without English and surrounded by cultural isolation. She adapted quickly, pushing through modeling before crossing into acting with Coming to America, then securing dramatic credibility that later led to NYPD Blue. Marriage unfolded alongside career expansion. Garcelle first married Daniel Saunders, then later Mike Nylon, a talent agent whose connection to Hollywood initially strengthened her professional circle. During this period, she balanced steady television work with visibility in film and media, only to see the marriage collapse when Nylon admitted to years of infidelity, turning private betrayal into a public reckoning. Professionally, that period demanded reinvention. Garcelle leaned into visibility rather than retreat, moving between scripted roles and unscripted television, later stepping into cultural conversation through The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. The transition tested her credibility, but expanded her reach, placing her at the center of discussions about race, loyalty, and power in entertainment. Now, Garcelle Beauvais is 60 years old, active as an actress, producer, author, and television personality after leaving The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. With an estimated net worth of around $8 million, she continues building projects on her own terms, carrying a career shaped by adaptation, exposure, and persistence rather than retreat. Ellia English as Aunt Helen King. Ellia English was born on March 26, 1960, in Covington, Georgia. At 36 years old, she played Aunt Helen King, the sharp-tongued, no-nonsense aunt in The Jamie Foxx Show. Her role added weight and authority to the sitcom, anchoring family conflict with humor and realism. That strength was forged early. Raised as the middle child in a family of 9, with a Baptist minister father and a mother working as a domestic helper, English learned responsibility young. Financial strain and household pressure pushed her toward discipline, leading her first to music studies and then to demanding stage work in productions like Dreamgirls and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. As her television career grew, personal life stayed largely private. English never publicly married, instead pouring her energy into work on shows such as Martin and later Curb Your Enthusiasm. The absence of a traditional family structure became part of her identity as a performer fully committed to craft. Career momentum continued through variety rather than scale, from sitcoms to horror films like Cornered, which earned her Best Actress at the New York Horror Film Festival. English proved adaptable, moving between comedy, drama, and stage without losing credibility. Today, Ellia English is 66 years old, still active between Los Angeles and Atlanta, balancing acting with community work and the arts. With an estimated net worth of about $1 million, she represents longevity built on persistence rather than spotlight. Christopher B. Duncan as Braxton P. Hartnebrig. Christopher B. Duncan was born on December 4, 1964, in Colorado Springs, Colorado. At 31 years old, he played Braxton P. Hartnebrig, the stern, rule-obsessed hotel manager in The Jamie Foxx Show. His character became a constant source of tension and comedy, giving the series structure and a sharp contrast to Jamie King's looseness. That commanding presence was shaped by an unstable childhood. Growing up in a military family, Duncan moved repeatedly between Germany, Japan, New Mexico, and the United States, rarely staying long enough to feel rooted. Constant relocation made friendships fragile and forced him to adapt quickly. This skill later translated into stage discipline and early success in theater, including recognition from the NAACP Theater Awards. His personal life appeared steady, but was tested by loss. Duncan married Susan Wood Duncan, who also appeared on The Jamie Foxx Show, and together they raised 3 children, Charles, Miles, and Hope. While his career expanded into roles such as President William Johnson on The First Family and recurring appearances on Veronica Mars, the family was shaken by the suicide of his younger brother Philip in 201. Professionally, he continued working through grief, channeling his focus into television and stage. Appearances on series like The Resident and continued theater work, including productions that earned Ovation Award nominations, reinforced his reputation as a dependable character actor rather than a headline star. In 2026, Christopher B. Duncan is 61 years old, still active in acting and theater. With an estimated net worth of around $2 million, built steadily through television and stage work, he remains a quiet fixture of American TV, recognized less for fame than for consistency and resilience. Garrett Morris as Uncle Junior King. Garrett Morris was born on February 1, 1937, in New Orleans, Louisiana. At 59 years old, he played Uncle Junior King, the sharp-tongued, streetwise uncle in The Jamie Foxx Show. His character brought generational humor and authority to the series, grounding the comedy with lived-in wisdom and helping the show feel like a real family rather than a studio gag. That depth came from an unsettled childhood. After his parents divorced, Morris was raised largely by his grandfather in a poor New Orleans neighborhood. Singing in choirs led him toward formal training at Juilliard and early artistic work, long before audiences knew him from Saturday Night Live or films like Cooley High. By the time he joined SNL in the 1970s, Morris was already older than most of the cast, often frustrated by limited roles, even as he made history as the show's first black cast member. Years later, The Jamie Foxx Show arrived at a critical moment, offering stability after setbacks and reconnecting him with mainstream audiences. Thanks to this momentum, he later carried 2 broke girls. Marriage brought steadiness but not ease. Morris married Frida Morris in 1996, and their relationship endured periods of strain tied to physical limitation and recovery. Those challenges traced back to 1994, when he was shot during a robbery, an attack that nearly killed him and left lasting damage, altering how he moved, worked, and was written into roles. Now, Garrett Morris is 89 years old, largely retired but still honored for his legacy, including a Hollywood Walk of Fame star in 2024. With an estimated net worth of about $2 million, earned through decades of acting, teaching, and comedy, he stands as a survivor whose career was rebuilt after violence nearly ended it. Susan Wood, as Cameron Caldwell. Susan Wood was born in Westfield, New Jersey, around 1968. At about 30 years old, she played Cameron Caldwell, the confident, emotionally grounded girlfriend of Braxton on The Jamie Foxx Show. The role added romantic tension and maturity to the series, softening Braxton's rigidity and expanding the show's emotional range. That calm authority was built through training rather than turmoil. Growing up in New Jersey, Susan focused early on performance, earning a place at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts and committing fully to theater. The discipline paid off on Broadway, where she originated Sandy in the 1994 revival of Grease and later took on demanding stage work such as Evelyn Nesbit in Ragtime, sharpening her presence before television. Television arrived as a turning point. Joining The Jamie Foxx Show during the late 1990s, Susan transitioned from stage to screen without losing precision, bringing theatrical control to a sitcom environment. The exposure connected her with a wider audience while anchoring her reputation. Her personal life intertwined with her work. In 1999, Susan married Christopher B. Duncan, her on-screen partner from the show, and together they built a family with 3 children. Balancing auditions, stage commitments, and parenting inside the entertainment industry brought pressure, yet the partnership remained steady through years of shared responsibility. Today, Susan Wood is about 58 years old, living largely away from the spotlight while remaining connected to acting through selective projects and family support. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000, built from Broadway, touring productions, and television, her career reflects longevity shaped by craft, rather than fame. Sherri Shepherd as Sheila Yarborough. Sherri Shepherd was born on April 22, 1967, in Chicago, Illinois. At 32 years old, she played Sheila Yarborough, the outspoken, unpredictable love interest in The Jamie Foxx Show. The role amplified the show's chaos and energy, sharpening its comedic edge and expanding Shepherd's visibility in television comedy. Her toughness was learned early. Raised in a poor household governed by strict Jehovah's Witness rules, Shepherd grew up surrounded by fear of punishment and limited freedom. When her parents divorced and her mother later died, instability followed her into adulthood, pushing her into comedy as a way to survive emotionally and financially. Career breakthroughs came with risk. After early sitcom cancellations left her homeless, Shepherd rebuilt through persistence, landing roles on The Jamie Foxx Show and later 30 Rock. During that same period, she married Jeff Tarpley, then later Lamar Sally, with both marriages ending in painful divorces, marked by public custody disputes and legal battles. Health added another layer of pressure. Diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, Shepherd was forced to overhaul her lifestyle while maintaining non-stop work in television. Even as she became a central voice on The View, winning a daytime Emmy, her body required constant monitoring, discipline, and restraint. Today, Sherri Shepherd is 59 years old, hosting her own daytime talk show, Sherri, and remaining a visible media figure. With an estimated net worth of around $10 million, built from hosting, acting, books, and syndication, she represents a career shaped by survival, controversy, and relentless forward motion rather than comfort. Andy Berman as Dennis. Andy Berman was born on February 24, 1968, in Chicago, Illinois. At 28 years old, he played Dennis, the awkward, fast-talking bellman on The Jamie Foxx Show. Though a supporting role, Dennis added frantic energy to the series, sharpening its pacing and highlighting the show's comic unpredictability. Creativity surrounded him early. Raised in an artistic household, Andy grew up alongside his sister Lauren Berman Rawitz, herself an actress, a dynamic that fueled ambition and quiet competition. Acting became an outlet, leading him to early television exposure on the Wonder Years. Those lessons carried into broader work. After appearing in the Jamie Foxx Show, Andy expanded beyond acting, moving into writing and producing while still performing. He voiced Dib Membrane in Invader Zim, a role that gained cult status and steadily built credibility behind the camera. The shift to creation defined his next chapter. Andy became a key force on Psych, serving as writer, director, and executive producer, while occasionally stepping back in front of the camera. Juggling multiple roles brought long hours and constant deadlines, but it also secured his standing as a storyteller rather than a background performer. In 2026, Andy Berman is 58 years old, active mainly as a writer, director, and producer. With an estimated net worth of about $1 million, earned through television development, voice acting, and long-running series work, his career stands as a quiet success, shaped by versatility and endurance, rather than celebrity. Blake Clark as Bob Nelson. Blake Clark was born on February 2, 1946, in Macon, Georgia. At 50 years old, he appeared as Bob Nelson, a gruff but comedic presence on the Jamie Foxx Show. Though a supporting role, his southern humor and timing added texture to the series ensemble. That voice was shaped early by hardship. Growing up in the American South, Blake later served as a Vietnam War officer, an experience that left lasting psychological weight. Returning home, he cycled through jobs as a teacher and football coach, learning discipline and restraint long before stepping on a comedy stage. Comedy became both outlet and survival. Moving to Los Angeles, Blake carved a niche through stand-up and character roles, often collaborating with Adam Sandler in films like The Waterboy and 50 First Dates. These roles turned him into a familiar face, rather than a headline star, valued for reliability and warmth. Another unexpected chapter followed loss. After the death of his close friend Jim Varney, Blake inherited the role of Slinky Dog in the Toy Story franchise, beginning with Toy Story 3. The responsibility carried emotional weight, tying friendship, grief, and legacy into voice work that reached a new generation. In 2026, Blake Clark is 80 years old, still connected to acting and voice work while living largely out of the spotlight. With an estimated net worth of around $5 million, built from decades of film, television, and animation, his career reflects endurance shaped by service, loyalty, and quiet consistency rather than fame. Rona Bennett as Nicole Evans. Rona Bennett was born on May 10, 1976, in Chicago, Illinois. At 23 years old, she played Nicole Evans, the gifted singer and Jamie's musical partner in the Jamie Foxx Show. The role injected melody into the sitcom, turning music into an emotional bridge that expanded the show beyond pure comedy. That musical ease was hard-earned. Raised in a working-class area of Chicago, Rona grew up surrounded by financial pressure and limited opportunity. But church choirs became her sanctuary. Singing gave her structure and hope, carrying her from local performances to national exposure on the all-new Mickey Mouse Club, where discipline replaced instability. Television success arrived quickly, but proved fragile. After the Jamie Foxx Show, Rona chased a solo music career, releasing Satisfied under producer Rodney Jerkins, only to see label conflicts stall the album. The setback redirected her path, and joining En Vogue became both a rescue and a test, leading to albums like Soulflower and later Electric Cafe. Career reinvention followed. Touring with En Vogue brought visibility but also constant transition, pushing Rona to expand into writing, coaching, and later releasing her own album, Instant Classic. The shift from spotlight performer to self-directed creator demanded emotional endurance and faith in longevity over trends. Now, Rona Bennett is 49 years old, active as a singer, author, and life coach, after stepping away from En Vogue. With an estimated net worth of about $1 million, she continues building a career defined by adaptation, using music and mentorship as parallel callings rather than chasing a single spotlight. Karen Maruyama as Gloria. Karen Maruyama was born on May 29, 1958, in the United States. At 41 years old, she played Gloria, a recurring hospital nurse who interacted closely with Jamie and Braxton in The Jamie Foxx Show. Though not a lead, Gloria functioned as a workplace character, grounding several storylines set around Jamie's hospital job and adding sharp comedic contrast to the main cast. That confidence was built against early resistance. Growing up as an Asian American performer, Karen faced typecasting and subtle exclusion, learning quickly that visibility required versatility. Comedy became her weapon, pushing her toward improv spaces where identity mattered less than instinct. Improv opened doors that scripted roles often closed. As a respected member of the Groundlings and a frequent performer on Whose Line Is It Anyway?, Karen built credibility through live performance, later translating that skill into television appearances on Suddenly Susan and Arrested Development. Each role sharpened her reputation as a dependable scene stealer. Television work remained steady rather than explosive. Appearances on Curb Your Enthusiasm and films like The Bucket List placed her inside major productions even when recognition stayed quiet. Touring internationally with Jim Henson's Puppet Up. Uncensored further tested her stamina and adaptability on stage. Today, Karen Maruyama is 67 years old, continuing to work as an actress, improv performer, and teacher. With an estimated net worth of about $1 million, her career stands as proof that longevity can be built through craft, resilience, and consistency rather than spotlight. Orlando Brown as Nelson. Orlando Brown was born on December 4, 1987, in Los Angeles, California. At 8 years old, he played Nelson, the sharp, fast-talking neighborhood kid in The Jamie Foxx Show. Though young, the role added childlike chaos and street humor to the series, making him one of the most recognizable child faces in the show's early seasons. Success came early and fast. Growing up in a working-class environment, Orlando entered the industry as a child, moving from Major Payne to Family Matters and then into Disney fame with That's So Raven. Acting became routine before adulthood arrived, and the pressure to perform replaced any sense of a normal childhood. As he transitioned into adulthood, stability slipped away. While his career peaked with That's So Raven and voice work on Fillmore. And the Proud Family, personal relationships became tangled, with conflicting claims about family life and children. Public confusion around his identity began to overshadow the talent that once defined him. Health and addiction soon took control of the narrative. Orlando struggled openly with drug addiction and severe mental health episodes, leading to repeated arrests, hospitalizations, and periods of homelessness. Legal trouble escalated through the 2000s, turning former child star nostalgia into shock and concern as his public appearances became increasingly erratic. By 2026, Orlando Brown is 38 years old, attempting a fragile comeback after sobriety in late 2025. With an estimated net worth of around $20,000, heavily damaged by legal and medical issues, he now focuses on survival and reinvention, including opening a small restaurant venture. Kellita Smith as Charisse. Kellita Smith was born on January 15, 1969, in Chicago, Illinois. At 28 years old, she played Charisse, Jamie King's stylish friend and recurring romantic interest in The Jamie Foxx Show. Charisse functioned as a love interest character, bringing flirtation, conflict, and social tension into Jamie's personal storylines. That momentum came from steady groundwork. Raised in California, Kellita first entered entertainment through modeling, then transitioned into theater. Stage performances earned her an NAACP Theater Award, signaling that she was more than a television hopeful. Television soon followed. After The Jamie Foxx Show, she landed the defining role of Wanda McCullough, Bernie Mac's wife on The Bernie Mac Show, a performance that brought multiple NAACP Image Award nominations and transformed her into a household name. Film roles like hair show and roll bounce kept her visible across genres. Rather than settling into one image, she kept moving. Later projects, such as Z Nation, pushed her into dramatic and genre television, demanding physical endurance and emotional range over long shooting schedules. Remaining unmarried, Kellita centered her life around work, maintaining independence in an industry that often pressures conformity. Now, Kellita Smith is 57 years old, still active in television and film. With an estimated net worth of around $3 million, built from long-running series and consistent roles, she represents a career shaped by persistence, adaptability, and steady upward momentum rather than sudden fame. Daryl Sivad as Clive. Daryl Sivad was born in 1966 in Detroit, Michigan. At 30 years old, he played Clive, a working-class friend and acquaintance within Jamie King's social circle in The Jamie Foxx Show. Clive functioned as a neighborhood peer rather than a family member, grounding several scenes in everyday street-level interactions and giving Jamie's world a more lived-in feel. His foundation was built outside Hollywood glamour. Raised in Detroit, Daryl graduated from Mumford High School and later attended Wayne State University, choosing education before committing fully to acting. That grounding shaped a career based on steady work, rather than overnight visibility. After The Jamie Foxx Show, Daryl moved quietly through film and television. Roles in projects such as Cinderella Man, 2004, 500 Days of Summer, 2009, and The Odd Life of Timothy Green, 2012, placed him in respected productions, often as a supporting character who reinforced realism rather than spectacle. Now, Daryl Sivad is 60 years old, continuing selective acting and industry work. With an estimated net worth of about $500,000, his career reflects quiet endurance, proof that longevity in Hollywood does not always require fame, only persistence and craft. Nearly 3 decades later, The Jamie Foxx Show still feels alive through the faces and stories of its cast. Which cast member's journey surprised you the most, and whose story deserves more attention today? If you enjoyed this deep look at The Jamie Foxx Show 1996 cast, then and now, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next untold Hollywood story.